something like that would probably work fine. I need to again put this back on here, line up my axle, and figure out about where it ends. Well, it ends about right here. So that point right there is going to be where I'm going to transfer the point across again. All right, now I said I was going to come in 1/4 inch, and so I'll mark 1/4 inch here and here. And I could connect those. Here's a simpler way of doing it. You can use your finger as a marking gauge. You put your finger down against your pencil like this, and put it on the mark, and then drag your finger against the edge of the wood like that. You make a nice straight line. So if you want to do that, just find the 1/4 inch mark, drag it right along there like that, and you turn yourself around and do the other side as well. Okay, here we are at the saw again. We just finished drawing the top view on the car, actually drawing it out as we had explained earlier. Now we're ready to cut it out. I like to cut this part first right here. There is no wood in my particular case underneath here, so it has a tendency to want to drag down or go down, so I like as much flat surface sitting on the table as I can. So again, we have to raise the upper arm guide assembly 1/8 inch above the work. Okay, turn on the machine, make your relief cut on the side. Make the side cut first. Now here again I'm going to nibble. Make a little wider saw cut so I don't have to shut the machine off. I'll make 2 saw cuts like that. Then I'm just going to cut along here. Now be prepared, this is going to want to tip forward as you're cutting, so hang on to it. Same thing on the other side. Going to this part here, I'm going to do some nibbling here again so I can get the saw blade in there. I'm going to actually nibble out the front and nibble out the back. So I'll do that by coming in a slight amount and making a wider saw curve. Just keep widening the saw curve as I go along. This way I don't have to try to twist the blade or turn a real sharp corner. Possibly breaking the blade or doing other things. It's just easiest, safest way to get this wood out. Okay, now I'm going to the front, do the same thing at the front. Keep widening the saw curve. I need to go back and clean up a little bit in the area. Remember, we're going to drum sand this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Stay back behind your line. Okay, so I probably have enough wood out of there now. I can go back here, get my blade in there nicely, as you can see, and finish the cut. Now I want to be careful with this hand, so I reach around back, grab my wood. Okay, there's that side all cut out. Just need to cut the front and then the other 2 sides. Alright, now I want to get to doing some of the hand tool work now. Some of the tools that you might use for this, for removing small quantities of wood, you're pretty much done with machines, other than we could probably go in here and drum sand some of that, but most of it's done as far as using the machine. So we have to use hand tools to shape the rest of the car. This is a dovetail saw. You're going to see me use that to cut the shoulder off right here, this extra wood right here. I'm going to use that for getting rid of that. We might use a larger round file. I have a smaller round file. These are all found behind the teacher's desk. Obviously the half round files, which are found in the tool cabinets. And then we even have a Dremel tool here. The Dremel tool can be used for quick removal of certain areas. I wouldn't use it as a finishing tool. It's too hard to control for that purpose. Okay, so I need to find a dowel. I need to get my wood in the vise. And if I just clamp it in the vise like this, it's kind of hard to work on because the vise is in the way. So a lot of times I'll find a dowel. And I like to find a tight fitting dowel. Like this one here is kind of loose. My wood's going to move around on it. So one that has some paint on it or something like that Usually fits a little tighter. Okay, and then I can put my dowel in the vise, and as you can see, I can get it out away from the vise and be able to work on it. And I'm going to need it in that situation for the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the wood right here, and I'm going to do that with first by marking up a 1/2 inch. Why did I pick a 1/2 inch? I picked a 1/2 inch because I wanted it to be a little higher than the axle, so I just used the square and I measured up a 1/2 inch. Now I'm just going to use the straight edge of the square and get a line across here. So that's where I want to make the cut. I want to remove this wood right here. So I start with the cut here that's going to saw down to this depth. And I put my thumb right up there as a guide, and then I start sawing with the dovetail saw. And I kind of watch until I reach this outside depth right here. Then all I have to do is spin the car on the dowel, and I'm going to use this as a guide now to guide my saw for the correct depth. And back and forth I go until I reach my first saw cut. Okay, there goes that piece of wood. Now I'd repeat the same process on the other side. Now you can see with the car right now, I've met the requirements of the axle width. It has to be 1 3/8 minimum here on the outside, this axle width right here. I still have it the same size as the block, which is 1 5/8, so I've met that requirement. And my axle hole at the front also passes through a block of wood where it's still 1 5/8 inches wide. So those are 2 requirements I need to have as far as my car is concerned. Now, what do I do with the rest of it? Well, I start to round it off. Again, the dowel is going to be a way of holding things, so it's easier to work on the car. You can put this in the vise whichever way it might be easier for you to work on it. So if I have it sitting here like this, I might come around to this side, I might start pushing the file along here. And you see I'm starting to round the edges off here. So I begin to shape it. Okay, my car is going to start to look like this right here. I need to start taking the wood out in here. Okay, what works good for that, I found, is a small file. So I can get my file in here and I start outlining the wood here. And the closer I get this to the vise, obviously, the less it's going to vibrate. I might have to adjust things a little bit. You can see as I begin to shape the car here, I've got it cutting out where I want it to be. Okay, you can see it's starting to take a shape. Up above here, again, I've got to remove some of this, so just get your files in there. I think a file is one of the easiest tools to use as far as shaping your car. So I continue like this until I get this all rounded into that particular shape. All right, here's another little tip. Something I like to do as far as maybe speeding the rounding up a little bit. And I might do this. I might go and find what size the car is on my drawing, which was 1 1/8. I'm going to place the 1 1/8 inch circle template down and get it centered over the hole. And then I'm going to make a rough outline there, or pencil line, which will make a rough outline of where I can take the car to. Remember, the thickness of the car at the back can't be less than 1/8 of an inch. So you can see I can get rid of these corners here somewhat with a tool like the disc sander that might make things a little speedier. So if I mark that on there, and then I step over here to the sander. Okay, and if I support my wood on the table and hold it like I'm holding it here, you can see I can take some of that wood off rather quickly. But again, you got to be careful you don't get carried away with that. Okay, it's just for a small removal of the wood. I speed things up a little bit. You can see I'm staying a little bit out away from my line as well. This will be a little harder to get in here. And I always have to sand on the downstroke.